I'm so proud of you, Amy. You did.
I love escort missions. Said no one ever. A loathed game mechanic, to say the least. Well, what happens when you make your whole game an escort mission? You end up with Amy, a game considered one of the worst ever made. On paper, Amy does sound intriguing. I saw one preview call it Eco with Zombies. You can see the influence Eco has on Amy, from its navigational puzzles to its attempt at bonding with our companion. I say attempt because Amy lacks on all fronts with regard to its execution. There's a lack of polish across all fronts. Its jankies in a way that isn't charming but frustrating. Its navigational puzzles are slow and plodding with excessive padding even with its short runtime. Its trial and error approach combined with one of the worst checkpoint systems I've come across. Few games have frustrated me as much as Amy. It may very well have the worst forced stealth sequence I've ever played. The plot is a mess. Its scope far exceeds a game of this size and leaves things vague and unexplained, where it's hard to care about what's going on when the stakes are unclear. The bonding with our companion, Amy, lacks any real weight. While she doesn't cause many issues during gameplay, beyond a couple of instances, the bond rings hollow. This time frame of the early 2010s had notable titles using companion characters to far greater effect, The Last of Us being the most apt comparison. There are many similarities to the plot between these two games. Where The Last of Us flourished, Amy floundered. Look at lists of worst game ever, and you'll find Amy over and over. Most review outlets gave the game a score of around the 2 to 4 range. Yahtzee called it the second worst game of the 2010s, only behind Hunt Down the Freeman. Is Amy that bad? No. That said, this isn't some misunderstood, overlooked gem. I'm not here to convince you otherwise. It's a bad game, but I've played far worse. Near the bottom of what I've covered on the channel, but I wouldn't consider it the worst of what I've covered. There are some decent ideas within. It has moments where things click, if but for a fleeting moment. Amy is a French game. As far as crimes the French have committed against gaming, there are worse. Ubisoft's output post Far Cry 3, give or take, is far more egregious. The output of David Cage is a far more unforgivable crime against gaming compared to Amy. With that, let's dive in and see why Amy has the reputation that it does.
Amy, you're such a brave girl. We're getting out of here.
To note, I'm playing the Xbox 360 version of Amy. It was a digital-only release on the 360 and PlayStation 3 stores. Unless you bought it through Xbox Live Arcade back in the day, it's now unavailable, lost to time on Microsoft consoles. From what I understand, with some workarounds, you can buy it off the PS3 PlayStation Store. I am using an emulator here. I tried emulating with the PS3 version first, but had some lighting issues that were a major distraction. I didn't have any major emulation bugs for the 360 version. I am also playing its day one release, version 1.0. It did receive a patch a couple months after launch that addressed core issues, but we're going for the more authentic Amy experience. More on that later. I'm going to let this intro for Amy play itself out and give some thoughts on it afterward.
Snowball's chance in hell of getting a call through, ma'am.
Excuse me?
Tickets, please.
Oh, yes. Here you are, sir.
A cold winter. I thought the planet was supposed to be heating up.
I think we have a few centuries before we'll need to be wearing shorts in December.
Now, how are you, little princess? Have you been good? Because the big red sleigh driver's coming tonight. Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, Father Christmas.
She's verbally challenged. She can't speak, but she's really looking forward to Christmas.
No, they all at that age. We'll be at Silver City Station in 5 minutes. You have a good day now.
We will. Thank you. And Merry Christmas. Amy, don't be afraid. He was just checking on us to see if we're okay. And he was right. It's Christmas Eve. I have a present for you. It's the latest thing. It should be even better than the pencils and crayons you had at the Phoenix Center. Oh, Amy, it's nothing. You're You're never going back to the center. I promise. I'm taking you somewhere safe. Hello?
Lana, I've been worried. Did you get out?
Yes, both of us. We're in the train. We'll be there soon.
So, how is she?
She's... I'm not sure. Same symptoms, fatigue, insomnia, but she's distant. It's getting worse.
Lana, I'm calling you from the best hospital within 1,000 kilometers. We've got everything we need to run a complete checkup. We'll figure it out. You'll know what's going on, and we can confront Professor Raymond with...
Listen, she's with me now. We're not confronting anyone. He won't touch her again. I'm coming to you to help her get better. Are we clear on that?
Of course, Lana. I'm with you. When you get to the hospital, go through the parking garage. The badges I gave you work anywhere, but I don't want to take any chances with your coming through the front lobby. The professor has eyes that see far beyond the center. Do you have the security badges? Lana? Are you there?
Yes, Ellen, I'm here, but... What? What is it, Amy?
What was that?
Did you see it?
I saw an explosion from my window. Near the Phoenix Center. Lana, you didn't...
No, we just left. I saw something on fire just fly over us, an airplane maybe. Ellen, I think Amy...
Lana, are you there? What's wrong with Amy? Is she okay? Lana?
So, we got ourselves a Christmas game here. Well, this will be the only mention of Christmas. The game takes place Christmas Eve 2021, a little under a decade after the game's release from 2012. We do find a note in Chapter 2 mentioning the year of 2021. Amy is autistic and verbally challenged. Lana's a bit ahead of the curve here in being an iPad parent to her. What's the relationship between the two? Was Lana her caretaker at this Phoenix Center? A staff member? What was going on there? What was this professor doing? Why did Lana break Amy out and escape with her? It's an awkward intro with its exposition. Now, it's a good way to build intrigue and mystery, I'm all for that. Jumping into the thick of things can work well to get the plot rolling. But in Amy, it feels like we're starting in the second act after skipping the first. We don't have much of a clue of what's at stake here. Are we going to get answers to these questions the intro brings up? Don't count on it. And so the game begins. Chapter 1, Exodus. Lana awakens to a crashed train at a train station in Silver City. Get used to being in train stations. Most of Amy takes place in them and their maintenance areas. Amy is nowhere to be found, so let's set off to find her. The controls of Amy are awkward, but in a different way than classic survival horror. Like how it uses the awkward Grand Theft Auto sprinting style, where you hold one button to run, then hit another rapidly to sprint. Never cared for this approach to sprinting. That said, Lana's quite the athlete. She doesn't seem to have a stamina meter. You could sprint to your heart's content. Same goes for Amy when we reunite with her. Even sprinting with her, holding her hand, there's no need to recover from sprinting. That said, sprinting was a rarity throughout my playthrough. There's a chase scene early on, but that's about it. You want to be taking your time making your way through this world. Adding to the impressive stamina of Lana is her ability to run in heels. You'd think she'd try to change her footwear in this kind of situation. She's putting herself at a great disadvantage with this approach. Whatever the case may be with her choice of footwear, she has limited options. I wouldn't try going through the world barefoot in these conditions. As well, she doesn't have many options for grabbing footwear from others or corpses. These zombie-like creatures we fight, they'll disintegrate after we kill them. Combat in Amy is typical janky survival horror over the shoulder. Lana is defenseless without a weapon. There are no guns for use. Only planks of wood and crowbars, ones that break after a few uses. We have a classic 3-hit combo at our disposal, although hit detection can be wonky. Did that second or third strike hit? Sometimes it looks and feels like it didn't, but it did as the enemy disintegrates before us. We have a dodge option with a very generous timing window. Enemy attacks have plenty of wind-up and tells. Dodge, get your hits in, rinse and repeat. Doesn't take much to take them down. Although the camera loves to act as a further adversary as it loves to zoom right into the action. There's nothing special about Amy's combat, but there's nothing too wrong with it. It serves its purpose. We do have a few more options that open up later once we reunite with Amy. But before we reunite with her, we'll come across another survivor.
Psst, over. Hey there, Missy. You sure look healthy, except maybe for the cuts and bruises. I'm okay. I'm not gonna hurt you.
I need to find a little girl. Have you seen anyone?
You're the first normal person I've seen in hours. Where did you lose her?
She was on the train with me.
That train that came crashing in here full of monsters? You look like you hit your head there, miss. You sure you was traveling with a little girl?
I need to find her. Her name is Amy. Help me. Or hide. I'm gonna find her.
My name's Marcello. I can help you. I was just heading to the station monitoring office. The cell network's down. But I'm sure they got some fixed lines over there we can use to call somebody. I got a pal, or I hope I still got a pal, that works there. Maybe your little girl went that way.
Just help me look for Amy.
Marcello won't be sticking around for long, but he's a memorable side character, if for the wrong reasons. Like that appearance of his character model looks like one exported from Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth. And there's that Jersey accent of his. He does mention being a cab driver from there, with the subtitles noting his pronunciations.
Amy, this nice lady here really wants to find you. So we can all go on and get away from all these monsters.
On the note of subtitles, Amy can have noticeable gaps between what characters say and the written subtitles, or the timing will be off. This is something they did fix in a future patch. Adding to the near future sci-fi feel, there's a genetic door lock. Good thing Marcello has a DNA cracker on hand. We'll come across a few of these throughout the game. Scan the box, look at their radar, and scan corpses to find the right match. So where did Marcello get something like this DNA cracker? Sounds like he had some mob connections.
Oh, this thing? It's a DNA synchronizer. I suppose I can tell you a secret, but with it being the end of the world and all, I wasn't always a cab driver. I mean, I always been a driver, but let's just say that, well, I used to work for some people with, connections.
Marcello serves as a bit of an exposition machine. Amy forgoes many exposition tricks you find in similar games, like notes. Unless I missed more, I only came across two. One that gives us the year of 2021 as the game's setting. And this note doesn't tell us much that we don't already know from the game's intro. Beyond Marcello here, most exposition stretches will happen between chapters. Opening the genetic lock, we'll come across a minigame. One that shows up only a couple more times afterward. You have a handful of symbols to choose from. Try out a combination. When you do, it'll tell you which ones are in the right spot, which ones aren't in the combination, and which ones are in the wrong spot. If you're thinking to yourself, hey, isn't that like Wordle? Then yes, you're correct. Although with only a handful of symbols and not the alphabet. This isn't the first game I've covered on the channel that featured a minigame like Wordle before Wordle existed. That other game being obscure too. The way forward unlocked will reunite with Amy. The game doesn't waste much time doing so.
Amy! Amy, come here.
I'll be damned, there really was a little girl. You must be Amy.
It's okay, Amy.
Now we get to the escorting element of Amy. At this moment, it's minimal. It will ramp up in the coming chapters. If we hold Amy's hand or if she's nearby, we'll heal. No need for syringes. Those will come in handy in other situations. It is a bit annoying that we have to hold a button to hold Amy's hand. Not sure why they didn't go the push to hold hands like Eco does. Marcello, or Cello as he goes by, does his best to connect with Amy. He's got an uphill battle with that grotesque appearance of his, where you wouldn't want him within 100 yards of a school zone.
Hello there, Amy. My name's Marcello, but my friends just call me Cello, and you can call me Cello cause you's a friend. Me and the nice lady here been looking all over for you. You's a brave little girl. How'd you manage to hide from all these monsters? Huh?
The game drip feeds us Amy's capabilities, like crawling through small holes to unlock doors from the other side. Although these holes look pretty generous fit for Lana to get through. Not Marcello though, he's a bit too stout for that. Amy's also quite the whiz with computers. Give her a few moments and she'll hack the system.
Amy, let's see if you can figure this out. It's just like the code game we play in the center.
When we get Amy to do these tasks, Lana likes to praise her efforts, which may result in the game zooming in on Amy's face acknowledging the recognition, or she may do a little victory hop.
I'm so sorry to put you through all this, Amy. You're so brave. Thank you.
I could see what they're trying to go for here, trying to build that bond between Lana and Amy, but it comes across as silly and would take me out of the game with that momentary cutaway. That bond did ring hollow. We'll grab a radio in this gizmo to put on her back, one that makes know the contamination level. Not a concern at the moment, but will be starting the next chapter. So at the moment, we have our merry band of 3 misfits. Are we going to have Marcello with us long? Escorting one character is difficult enough as is. No, he'll make an exit in short order. Again, in the meantime, he does serve as further exposition. Beyond his grotesque appearance, he is memorable in his speaking mannerisms. I'll give the game credit for that. They make do with his short screen time.
These soldiers locked all the freaking doors when they left, and you can't get out. I tried all of them, and then I heard you calling out for the little girl. I said to myself, no monster be calling out for a little girl.
For at chapter's end, Marcello, or Cello, tells us to hide as he goes and talks to some soldiers. I'm sure you could see where this is going. Between chapters, we'll get these comic-like cutscenes to drive the plot forward.
My name's Marcello, but my friends call me Cello. You know, like those great big violins.
Silence, please. We need to run an identity check. Caucasian, 110, 130 kilos, mid-40s. Survivor. No signs of transformation. Awaiting orders.
You already have your orders, damn it. Find, recover, extract.
Roger. Targeting.
Oh, shit.
We've got movement detected on the southbound metro platform. Get your ass down there.
Move out. In pairs. Red team lead. I want a large perimeter once we get to the gallery.
They've gone, Amy. Amy! Thank you, Marcello. I'm so sorry.
Chapter 2. Revelations. Amy beelines it away from Lana. Now the contamination factor comes into play, like avoiding these red puddles, which will kill Lana in short order. These death screens gave me a chuckle each time with how abrupt they are and how they cut off. Amy hides herself in a nearby cabinet. I will note this reunion is a nice little scene between Amy and Lana. Enjoy it while it lasts because these bonding moments, gameplay or cutscene, lack bite.
Amy. Oh. I'm pleased I found you. Listen. Everything's gonna be okay. I promise.
Now we're introduced to another side of Amy's mechanics. Stealth-based mechanics. Shouldn't it come as a shock that these are where the main frustrations of Amy resides. First, we'll have the hiding mechanic, which does receive little usage. We'll use it here to let this one-time creature pass by before continuing. The game now expands on Amy's abilities, like her carrying a light source to light up dark passages. But the more noteworthy ability are these glyphs on the wall which she draws.
Did the professor teach you something about these? They don't look... Wait! We use simpler versions at the center to indicate the psionic wards. Only this one's more elaborate, more detailed.
These glyphs unlock Amy's psychic abilities. Bringing up the menu for it, looks like we have a handful of powers to unlock as we progress. Well, no. There's the silence ability we have here, or a shockwave to knock enemies back. I'd wager they had more in mind before cutting. This silence ability allows us to dampen the sound of shattering glass or masking our footsteps. This could lead to some interesting stealth puzzles, in theory, although Amy does little with this ability. These zombies aren't the only enemies we'll come across. As we saw with Cello's fate, we have soldiers to deal with. There's no way of killing them. stealth is the only option. There's two sides to the trope coin with how these spec ops teams behave. One, they're the best in the world at what they do, or two, you wonder how they put their pants on the morning, let alone got through the recruitment process. Can you guess how they handle an Amy? Let's take a look. There's a soldier patrolling a room we need access to, but there's a nearby payphone, because those still exist in the 2021 world of Amy, we can use as a distraction. I mistimed hiding in the cabinet here. This doesn't look good. Is he going to look over here? Going to look down just a little bit more? I guess, is he just going to stand there menacingly? Are they that short of quality recruits these days? I sat here for over a minute, not budging an inch. Neither did they move. Do I move? What happens when I do? I don't have much space to work with. Should I let go of Amy to squeeze by? Will she brush the side of him by accident? Will he move then? I'm sure you could guess how this turned out. Up until now, I haven't had many issues with Amy. Not a great game, but it's left me puzzled at its reception. Well, from here on in, with a few exceptions, I began to see why. As you saw there, the game's AI isn't the greatest. What about the AI of Amy as we escort her? This can make or break a game. Escort missions can be a burden as is, especially when they decide to run off and do their own thing, causing game overs. Thing is, with the game's frustrations, next to none of them revolved around her behavior. Sure, she could have the occasional AI quirk in her pathfinding, her inability to climb a ladder is puzzling, but never once did Amy die during my playthrough. Lana died plenty, but not Amy. I'm not sure she can, which is understandable given her age. These zombies can stop her in her tracks and try to absorb her powers. I sat around for a good minute and a half letting them, and still no game over. We're going to have short stretches where we part ways with Amy. These stretches are the best executed moments of the game. Not because we don't have to worry about her for time, does help. It's where some of the game's ideas come to fruition in a halfway decent manner. Amy is immune to this unknown contamination, but Lana is not. If we hold Amy's hand or are nearby, she heals us. Not only our health, but our contamination levels. But once we stray far enough away, Lana's contamination builds. The notifier on Lana's back will change. The screen will turn red. We'll start to hear voices. Our movement will slow. I did enjoy this transition and how it shifts the game's feel. It's a nice bump to the atmosphere. On the note of atmosphere in Amy, it's there. Not much to note about it. Music is decent, nothing special. Tension is there, but more of that falls on the jank and frustrating game design. Not much for scares. The game does some cheap attempts at jump scares with falling objects or lights shattering. For these contamination stretches, it is vague when Lana will succumb to the contamination and die. I found that Lana could move around for far longer than I thought she would. The game will give us these stretches away from Amy that are long enough to build tension. It's such a relief to reunite with her. The marks of infection will fade from Lana, the screen returns to normal in her presence, the voices disappear. Of all the things the game does wrong, these moments of tension and relief are the game at its best. That said, it's not going to be our only option. If we take the time to look around, you'll find syringes. You could use these on Lana to reduce some of the contamination levels and restore health, which do take away from some of the tension as they are plentiful throughout. The game also lays them out for longer stretches away from Amy, where you'll want to consider using one to keep yourself from death. There's a few other roadblocks that keep us apart from Amy for a time. One main source are the environmental puzzles involving service lifts and ladders. As mentioned earlier, Amy can't climb ladders for whatever reason. Though if she could, we wouldn't need to have these puzzles. Using these service lifts, we can move Lana and Amy around to help the other one forward. You can get Amy to hit a switch to activate a service lift, or we can do that and have her go up and down a service lift. Some of these puzzles aren't bad. In fact, some give a nice sense of satisfaction upon solving, taking a moment of stepping back and planning out the route of Amy and Lana and who does what. But there's also a feeling of relief they're done with due to frustrations. These can be slow and plodding. These service lifts move at the pace of elevators from Mass Effect. Lana takes forever to climb ladders. But these environmental puzzles shatter the suspension of disbelief with these service lifts. Why aren't these switches on the platforms themselves? Why are so many of these switches on the other side of the room? There's one switch for a service lift in Chapter 3 that's about 100 yards away. If workers are doing maintenance, this requires a team of 2. One to hit the service lift switch for the other to use. Well, with how slow these lifts are, one could hit the switch, run and jump up on the lift. But we ourselves can't do that here. Are there security reasons for this? I can't say I've been in many maintenance sections of train stations, but this doesn't seem efficient by any stretch of the imagination. But I get the reasoning. Navigational puzzles. Once you notice it though, it does shatter that immersion as much as the wonky AI can. Other roadblocks between our time away from Amy include combat encounters. That said, the game will play loosey-goosey with these encounters and break some of its own rules. We'll have a wave of enemies that only take one hit to go down. We'll get a weapon that won't break for that gauntlet. Or in one case, we could use Amy like a turret to deal with them. But it was the shock mines that provided most of my frustrations. These were the bane of my existence. And they're fields you need to stealth your way through. A minimal nudge on the joystick that brings your movement speed to a trickle. Else Lana gets a nasty shock. The controls were quite finicky, where a tiny nudge more moved up Lana's speed enough for a shock. If you have Amy in tow, it's fine. Hold her hand, heal up. She doesn't have to worry about damage. You can also use them to your advantage against enemies. But it's the sections away from Amy where these mines can be a pain to deal with. Especially if you don't have any syringes. Your contamination is building up, you're seeing red, you want to get back to Amy ASAP to heal up. It was oh so easy as a result to try to rush through these mines leading to death. And death in Amy can be brutal in its punishment. As mentioned earlier, I'm playing its initial Day 1 release, version 1.0 before a patch. The checkpoint placement is horrific. Some of these deaths would send me back a good 10 to 15 minutes. Now, on replaying after death, I could get through them much faster, but then I could reach the point after death and have to slow down, in which case I could have another death and find myself back once again to that initial checkpoint. The only thing more relieving than reuniting with Amy was getting a checkpoint indicator. Now, checkpoints are a delicate juggling act. With the right placement, they hit that sweet spot of building tension but relief in placement, where if you die, you feel the punishment but outweighs the frustration. The best stretches of FromSoft's Soulsborne titles being great examples. Most modern games tend to be a bit too generous with their checkpoint placement, where there's little tension. But then you have cases like Amy, where it's the polar opposite, where you're begging for a checkpoint with none in sight. I can't recall a game with as bad checkpoint placement. But as noted, I'm playing its 1.0 release, before it received a patch a couple months after launch. One of the major changes was the addition of more checkpoints. Some of these stretches I'd die a handful of times. Not wanting to go through it all over again, I'd look at a playthrough on YouTube to find the best way forward. I would notice there would be a good 2 to 3 checkpoints where this version had 1. But hey, if we're playing what's considered one of the worst games ever, might as well get the most authentic experience. Plus I couldn't find a way to patch the game version with the emulator. As well, this 360 emulator does not have save states, so it's not like I couldn't save scum my way through these stretches. Believe me, there are fewer games I played where I wish I did have this option on hand. During this chapter, there's further world building from Pastor John over these stations' broadcast.
Prayer is not going to be enough, my friends. We are at war with true evil. Remember the saying, praise God and pass the ammunition? I think that we can all agree that it has become all too appropriate. The time is now to show the Antichrist what a Christian soldier is made of.
Wrapping up Chapter 2, we'll have another comic-style cutscene with Lana talking to Ellen, the woman she was talking on the phone at the beginning. We'll get some more insights into this infection.
This is gonna work, Amy. This is gonna work. Hello? Ellen? This is Lana. Can you hear me?
Dr. Lavinia, there's someone calling for you on the emergency frequency.
Lana, is that you? Are you all right?
We're alive, if that counts.
Is Amy okay?
Amy is... she's... changing. But listen, Ellen, it's a nightmare here. Is there any way you can send someone to get us? The people in my train were infected.
I think Phoenix has something to do with it. The professor has sent out his army. The whole city has been contaminated. We're barricaded in the hospital, trying to figure this out. It's not behaving like a virus. It's not a contagion. It's like there was some sort of spontaneous genetic mutation. The professor has something to do with it, and I just...
Ellen! There's static!
Anna, you need to get to the hospital so that I can run some tests on Amy. We stick to the same plan as before.
We're trapped. The power's out and we're locked in. There are Phoenix soldiers everywhere. And they're after Amy!
Wait a minute, Lana. I've got George here. I'm gonna ask him if he can hack into the station's grid. Maybe locate you.
Amy, it's going to be just fine. Dr. Lavinia is figuring out a way to get us some help.
Lana, we've got you on a map. There's an elevator that should take you up to the shopping galleries. The metros are working. Do you think you can make it to the northbound?
Come on, Amy. We've got another train to catch. Ellen's cut off. We're cut off. There's infected zombies and trigger-happy soldiers everywhere. We're never going to... I'm sorry, Amy. I'm a little... overworked. I promised to take you somewhere safe. I keep my promises.
Sure hope you do, Lana. Nothing breaks like a broken promise. Chapter 3, The Promised Land. We gain access to another one of Amy's glyph powers. As brought up earlier, it looks like we get a handful. But no, Shockwave is the only other power beyond silence. This can knock over enemies or break through wooden planks.
You did it! Bravo, Amy!
This is where we have the navigation puzzle where the switch to a service lift is a good 100 yards away. We'll get Amy to stay here and flip it as we head on over. We have to be aware of our contamination levels, but there are plenty of syringes along the way that we could use to hold it back. And of course, more shock mines. But hey, at least there is a checkpoint when we reach the service lift. And on the way back to fetch Amy, what better time than for zombies to show up? That said, we can use the mines against them, and Amy's shockwave powers. She acts like a turret here. She has unlimited use of her shockwave during the stretch. But beyond this bit, we'll have to go back to a glyph for Amy to draw and restock her powers. You get a few with each restock. This chapter's environmental puzzles bring Amy's shockwave powers into the fold. And there's a couple of instances here where it felt like the developers were trolling the player. You'll send Amy up a service lift to use the shockwave ability to break a plank. But the camera cuts away right after. Turns out there was another plank right behind it, requiring another shockwave. But at this point, I was out of shockwaves. I didn't realize there's another plank until I took the service lift up. There's a glyph tucked away in the back corner of the room on the second level. So I have to get Amy back down to ground level, then send her up on the other service lift. Then I have to take Lana up this ladder on the side, taking her sweet time, and then lead Amy to the back to draw another glyph. Of course, you need to gain access to the ladder first. There's a movable object in the way. To move it, you have to get Amy to send Lana up the service lift, go down the ladder, and move the object from the other side, all at a glacier's pace. Amy isn't a long game, even with the long checkpoints that set me back a distance. But man, did these environmental puzzles pad its runtime. What do we have after this annoying stretch of an environmental puzzle? Another one to deal with. Help Amy up these boxes to get to the top. Use Lana to move these larger boxes to let Amy through. Shift some platforms around, use shockwave to break planks. Once again, I found myself short of shockwave powers. That said, they did double stack planks back to back, but this required a trip back down, helping Amy down, finding a glyph to draw, helping Amy back up, and continuing. This one was more me, but still, what a frustrating ordeal. I could feel my blood begin to boil during these stretches, which would simmer for a time for the next chapter, but would arise soon enough once again. This is more or less it for the environmental puzzles. The end of this chapter will have a short stealth section evading a soldier, giving us a preview of what to expect with the rest of Amy's runtime. Throughout Chapter 3, Ellen will reach out to Amy over the radio. She'll give a bit more insight into what's going on here in Silver City and Amy's abilities.
Lana, we've got this weird theory we're going over. It looks like the only people who are turning into these monsters are citizens born in Silver City. It's weird. Have you noticed anything?
Right, Ellen. I'll ask the next zombie where he was born before he bites me.
Lana, have you been developing any symptoms?
Amy's telekinetic powers are increasing, Ellen. They're more powerful than her best scores in the center, by at least a magnitude.
I'll need to run a battery of tests to understand what's been done to her. You're certain that she's showing no signs of infection?
No, it's the opposite. Well, she heals me every time I get sick. She's become a cure for the virus, at least for me.
Hopping onto a train at chapter's end, the professor becomes aware of our movements and hinders our progress.
Only 2 more stations and we're there, Amy. Are you counting them? Mm-hmm. It's going to be all right. Dr. Lavinia is going to help us.
Professor, the target is moving in the metro, heading north. We've lost him.
This is most disappointing. Gather your so-called troops and get them to Golden Cross Station. They're headed for the hospital. I wonder who Lana's friends are. Well, they'll be making an unexpected stop.
Damn you to hell.
Chapter 4, Tribulation, adds another stealth mechanic. One in theory is a pretty cool idea. We don't have a weapon at the moment, so how can we snake by these zombies? Well, if Lana's contamination level is high enough and we move slow, the zombies think we're one of them. It's a bit vague at what point they'll think we're one of them. Once the screens start to turn red and Lana hears voices, that seemed to do the trick. Of course, we can't let our contamination get too high or it's game over. You have to find a syringe or a mask off a dead soldier to reduce it, and one far enough away from the zombies. I didn't mind this little stretch here with this approach. Great tension and a nice sense of relief of making it past the zombies and back to Amy. That said, it's only a short stretch of the chapter, for there's little of note for the rest of it. It's a bunch of zombies making a beeline at you and finding weapons to kill them. There's a short stretch at the end where Amy goes to open a door and zombies descend upon Lana, in which the game breaks its rules and gives you a long-lasting crowbar that takes only a hit to take down zombies. I will note some of the advertisements we could find here, like Banana Loop. Alright then. Or this one here, with this quality Photoshop of a dog with a helmet and bazooka in tow. What that is, I have no idea. The dev's having a little bit of fun? Not much fun here otherwise, that's for sure. At chapter's end, we'll hear from the professor once again over the radio. The one after Amy wants her back at Phoenix Center. He gives a bit more insights into the stakes of this world and Amy's importance. That said, there's plenty still vague about it.
Ellen, Raymond is after us and he knows where we're going.
Okay, Lana, calm down. You can make it. We're on the 2nd floor in the radiology wing.
You can't send us an ambulance or something?
We can't. Everyone's got their hands full here. Those of us who still have hands anyway. And I haven't heard from the last group we sent out. Lana, you can do this.
Lana, stop. You're making a terrible mistake. You don't have all the information.
Professor, leave us alone. I won't let you hurt her anymore.
I would never hurt Amy. She's the future of humanity. We need to meet. Let me explain.
I've already seen your explanation. It's been trying to kill me ever since I left the center. What have you done? Are you insane? You destroyed a city because of Amy?
These events surpass even my understanding, but they seem to be inevitable. I've always known that this day would come. I am not the cause, but Amy is the effect. She is my greatest accomplishment.
I'll never let you touch Amy again.
Lana! Lana! You're giving me no choice! Don't
And at last, we reach Chapter 5, Sacrifice. I've been pretty charitable to Amy so far. By no means is it a great game. Pretty mediocre. Those checkpoints can be brutal. The environmental puzzles can be padded and frustrating. It's clunky and unpolished on all fronts, but did have me a bit puzzled with its very low review scores. Well, along comes Chapter 5. Everything began to click. Now, we do get a welcome change in location, stepping outside the train station and into the streets of Silver City. The hospital's not far, but we'll have to navigate through the streets full of zombies first. There are no weapons lying around. We'll have to stealth by. What happens if zombies spot us? Game over. Why now when it didn't before? Well, fuck you. Which made me wonder at first, why not place soldiers here to evade? They spotted you before, it was a one-shot kill. That would make more sense. But here the game makes use of sneaking while contaminated, like that stretch at the beginning of Chapter 4. But here they stretch it out with punishment by game over if spotted. Oh my friends, how my blood boiled at this stretch. Very much a trial and error affair. And with the 1.0 release, a long stretch without checkpoints. With the patch, they were far more generous. Sending Amy through this pipe near the beginning would give a checkpoint, or drawing a glyph on a nearby wall did the same. I gave it the old college try, building off past failed attempts. I had a run where Amy acted unruly. This was one of the few times where Amy's AI bugged out. No, not that way, Amy. Don't step on that glass, Amy. Come back over here, Amy. We're going a different way. Amy, don't you even think about it. That said, the game does give you a few routes you could take here. After several attempts, I did resort to looking at playthroughs on YouTube for ways forward. You can use car alarms to get the zombies' attention, whether Lana sets them off herself or if Amy uses shockwave. Again, I like this idea of stealthing through enemies while contaminated. There's great tension in getting enough space between you and them when you need to lower your contamination levels. I did look at a few publication reviews for Amy. I was curious to read or hear the reasoning for scores that veered below 3s. IGN gave the score a 2. A common pattern was admitting that they never beat the game due to frustration. Well, that is common for game journalists to not complete games. But at least here they were upfront about it. I did also find a certain someone of a comparable skill level to journalists who echoed those same sentiments.
Who wants to replay the same little part of a map 45 fucking times, replaying 5 minutes of gameplay at a pop to finally beat it? Nobody! Nobody!
I can't recall the last time I felt such relief when the checkpoint reached icon finally appeared on screen. Bless those who trialed and erred their way back in the day with this without any guidance, especially at launch with the horrid checkpoint placement. If there was ever a time I wanted to use save states, this was it. The last stretch of Chapter 5 has us down the sewers looking for some DNA code to unlock a door. Of course, once you find it, zombies come swarming in large numbers. Although we get crowbar for easy kills and no worries about durability. Not a fun stretch, like most of the game of course, but it's heaven compared to the stealth stretch before. At long last, we're at the hospital, the final chapter, but we are not alone.
Just killed a creature with a defibrillator.
Chapter 6, Redemption. We're now at St. John's Hospital. There's a powerful monster in pursuit, one that won't go down as easy as other zombies do. Ellen did mention a defibrillator during the cutscene. We'll need to get Amy to flick a switch to get the power running. There's a corner with an outlet and water nearby. Plug the defib in, lure the monster over, hit him while he's shocked, and repeat a few more times. Or you could also use the shock mines on the ground that are here as well. This did take a few tries. Amy is too far away to heal us from contamination. This monster gives a tiny window for healing with a syringe to reduce Lana's contamination levels. But at last, the nightmare is over. We are done here.
And for the first time, I had the feeling that we weren't alone. If anyone could find out what Professor Raymond had been doing to Amy, Ellen could. And knowing what was wrong was halfway to making her better. Whatever he's looking for, he was willing to destroy a town to discover it. I had kept my promise to a little girl. She was in good hands now. But somehow I knew it wasn't over. Amy has become a part of me, and I won't let anyone hurt her. Not anyone. Ever again.
Get your ass down there. Roger. Move out.
Hello, ladies. It looks like you could use some divine intervention.
Amy ends on a sequel bait that never came to fruition, which, considering its reputation, shouldn't come as a surprise. We didn't get many answers. What was the Phoenix Center? Why did Lana decide to break Amy out of there? What kind of tests were they doing there? What makes Amy so special? What was the professor doing? What made these zombies? Why does it only seem to be citizens of Silver City with this infection? What about Pastor John here in his appearance at the end? In the hospital, there's a room full of growing fetuses and tubes. What in the world was going on here? Amy's scope does clash with its narrative. You're looking at a game that, trial and error aside, you could beat in 2 to 3 hours. But with all the narrative threads, it feels more in line for a game that's at least 10 plus hours. The game's developer, VectorCell, mentioned they wanted to make it a full retail release in an interview. It's unclear if they had a larger scope but cut down on it. Thank goodness it was only $10 as opposed to $60 for what you get here. I have to wonder how its already terrible reputation would have been magnified in that case. There's scant information on Amy's development, but with the bits and pieces of story, I'm wagering they cut down on the larger scope. Like how the game begins. All that talk about the Phoenix Center and breaking Amy out of it. What were the reasons for Lana making that decision? The game feels like it skips a handful of chapters that would have taken place there. We could have had a clear understanding of the stakes and what the professor was doing. See that bond grow between Lana and Amy. Leaving the players to fill in the blanks works well for horror, but specific kinds of horror. One more abstract and in the psychological realm, but that doesn't mesh well with Amy's more sci-fi light approach. It needs to give us a bit more to work with. Needs to give us a better understanding of the stakes. Again, it feels like it'd be more in line for a game that's looking at a 10 plus hour runtime, where you have more room for a larger world and for bonding. I did bring up in this video's intro that there were games around this time frame with similar approaches. One's of varying scope and execution. Amy bears strong resemblance to The Last of Us, both in its plot and its use of character bonding. Now to note, Amy came out in early 2012, about a year and a half before The Last of Us. There was something about this early 2010s period where you had several prominent dad games, which I like to call them, or the media's called them. One in which you protect and bond with a daughter, blood, or surrogate. Beyond The Last of Us, of course, you had BioShock Infinite around the same time frame. Although to note, BioShock 2 did the whole dad element far better back in 2010. Another digital-only release around the same time of Amy's, I'm Alive, did something similar, which I did cover on the channel. Amy does deviate in ways. Instead of a father figure, we have the surrogate mother here with Lana. A mom game, if you will. These games were like Amy in how they handled having a companion around, but they were far more convenient. You never have to worry about them gameplay-wise, far less than Amy. As well, you had long stretches away from them, or starting the game before meeting them. Yes, Amy does start with her away from us, but only for a few minutes. We already know her. Compare that to Ellie from The Last of Us or Elizabeth in BioShock Infinite. We had a time window before they entered the fold. We saw their meeting, the initial conflict, how their bonds grew. And Amy just feels static. Granted, the game has a far shorter runtime. Still, with even all these powers Amy has, how she could help Lana with environmental puzzles, didn't get much of a sense of bonding. Can part of that be due to Amy's silence? Yes. Last of Us and BioShock Infinite did have Ellie and Elizabeth as chatterboxes. That did a lot of heavy lifting, but it's not necessary to create that bond, as we'll see with another game in a moment here. They could have had Amy speak a couple of lines or even a single word at game's end. That one moment could have had a lot of impact as a result. These moments of Lana praising Amy, where the camera would zoom on her face or watch her victory jump, those felt goofy in a way that took me out of the game. Of course, there's a wide gap in the quality and polish of Amy compared to The Last of Us and BioShock Infinite. As overrated as I find those games on many fronts, I can't deny their level of polish. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you can see the influence Eco had on Amy. I saw one preview describe the game as Eco with zombies, a game that predated Amy by a good decade or so. But the contrast in quality and polish, night and day. I will give Amy credit for one thing. It did lead me to firing up Eco for the first time in over a decade to get some footage for it. While it did have dialogue, it was minimal in Eco. It had a minimal story, but it built intrigue in its world. It was abstract in a way to let the player fill in the blanks. Amy tried something similar but clashed with its grounded sci-fi approach. Eco made great use of Eco and Yorda helping each other out through navigating the castle, but we also had to protect Yorda from these shadow creatures. Kept its gameplay simple enough that never got too frustrating. Sheer masterclass in game design. And to be honest, a survival horror approach to Eco on paper sounds like a great idea. But Amy is a great example when the game design and polish isn't up to par. Thing is, Amy's creator and director, Paul Cuisset, did good work in the past. He directed Flashback, 1992 sci-fi platformer in the vein of Prince of Persia. Oh, and Shaq Fu he was quite involved in. Considered one of the worst games ever. So his variance in quality can be all over the place, as seen here with Amy. He would release a remake of Flashback the following year in 2013, but didn't leave much of a mark. Studio Vector Cell would shut down not long after. So, wrapping up, is Amy one of the worst games ever made? I didn't find it to be the case. I didn't find it as bad as its reputation made it out to be. That said, it's not some overlooked gem that didn't get its due. It's an awful game, a bad one of the worst I've covered on the channel, but it wasn't much of a case of it being so bad that it became brilliant, but not as bad as it's known for. It does have its fleeting moments. I do think there are some legs for taking something like Eco and throwing it into the realm of survival horror. That said, that could go awry with airtight design, which is what you get with Amy. This video should have been more than enough for you to get an idea of what the game is like. If you want to go try it yourself, you can, but that time's better spent replaying Eco, or playing it for the first time if you haven't. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm off to replay Eco to wash the stench off that Amy left behind. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so. Curious to hear below of your thoughts on Amy, if you experienced it firsthand especially. Special shout out to the Boulder Punchers who give extra support to the channel on Patreon or YouTube memberships. For those in the complete Global Saturation tier, American Boot, Flan Nagel. For those in the Thank You for Your Patronage tier, Tom Terrible. For those in the Now This Is Boulder Punching tier, Ethan, James Warner, Cray, the Madman in Waco, Nate 2, the Original Narcisse Diet Thickdew TM Neo Edition. For those in the Jill Sandwich tier, On Hell, Benji, Benny Winterdawn, BB F. Bloxburg, Darkrod99, Dragon Fang Studios, James Kilgore, Leonard Arnson, Logan Lepin, Mad Morpheus Gaming, Mikkel B, Nico Pero, Sam Jones, Squid Vicious, Strababina, Vinyl Morpheus, Will Han, Ensign. And now for the post-video Q&A. From Flan Nagel, aside from Amy, what's your favorite Paul Cuisset game? Shaq Fu, obviously. Although looking at his list of games he's made, I haven't played many. I did have a laugh trying out Shaq Fu. For those who aren't aware of it, it was a mid-90s fighting game starring Shaquille O'Neal. Like Amy, it's considered one of the worst games ever. Although Shaq Fu has elements of so bad it's brilliant. I played Flashback once, many years ago for like 5 minutes. Maybe one day I should go through it. He also did a Flashback 2 in 2023, which did have the second lowest Metacritic score of that year, only behind Gollum. Quite the variance he has there. I do know Darkstone is one people like, the Diablo clone. Thanks for the question, Flan. Darkrod99. Hello, Boulder. You have played a lot of survival horror over the years, but have you encountered a time where you're tired and probably think, I've done this before in other games? How do you deal with not getting burnt out or tired of playing survival horror games? A good question, Darkrod99. By this point in the channel's lifespan, I've covered most of the well-known survival horror titles, at least the classic ones. I don't have much interest in covering, flavor of the month horror, stream bait horror games. I'll do the occasional indie in the classic survival horror vein. Moving forward, I am mixing up more with obscure ones and mixing in more point-and-click titles. along with horror-adjacent games. There's always something about the obscure ones with their oddities and jank that are fun to explore. Even Amy, in a way, as terrible as it was, there was still something fascinating about looking at this game. What also really helps is that survival horror titles tend to be much better at respecting your time. Most games you can complete under 10 hours or so. If I were covering longer games on the channel, RPGs, a lot of modern open world games that just pad out runtimes like you couldn't believe, I could see burnout being a thing. But as survival horror games tend to be shorter, I haven't really had much of an issue the last few years in tiring of them. So thanks for the question, DarkRod99. So thanks again to everyone. If you're interested in supporting the channel further through YouTube or Patreon memberships, check the pinned comment or description. Also do one-time donations through Super Thanks or Ko-fi. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next video.
Hello. Hello, imbecile.